Richard Rider, aka Nova, is finally making his way to the MCU, and fans are super excited about it, especially considering the fact that he was supposed to make his MCU debut in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, and he was also supposed to be in Avengers Infinity War and possibly Avengers Endgame after that as well. But he is finally coming. How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and awesome news today. Nova is finally coming to the MCU. We expected this because the president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, had talked about Nova being a priority for the MCU only a couple of years ago in 2017. But what does his return mean, and could it possibly bring back to the big screen an old favorite villain of ours, Thanos? We'll talk about it in this video. Quick reminder to subscribe, comment, and like the video if you'd like to enter my giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox One or a PS4, and so you can stay up to date on everything relating to the MCU. So, Nova is headed to the MCU, and this has been reported by comicbook.com and MCUcosmic.com as well. And this is something comicbook.com reported 2 years ago in 2017. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, told comicbook.com this: Nova is, if we have a big board with a bunch of characters that have more immediate potential, Nova is on that board. Because of the connection to the Guardians universe, because there are more than one examples to pull from in the comics that are interesting, and you're absolutely right, he was in the earliest drafts of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So 2 years ago, Kevin Feige said that Nova was a priority to get into the MCU, and he was supposed to be in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was even supposed to be in Avengers Infinity War. The writers for Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame have revealed that the beginning of Infinity War did not start with Thor and Thanos, not in the earliest drafts of the movie. Instead, it started with the destruction of Xandar, home of the Nova Corps and Nova. In this scene, all of the Nova Corps would have been destroyed except for one person, Richard Rider, and then he would have inherited all of the Nova Force. And instead of the Hulk being sent to Earth to warn the Avengers, it was actually Nova who went to Earth and warned them about Thanos. But ultimately, and sadly, that scene never made the final cut. However, since now Nova is headed to the MCU, the most likely scenario in which he arrives in the MCU is most likely the Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, Kevin Feige said he shared a connection to the Guardians, and he was supposed to be in the first Guardians movie. And sadly, not too many people know who Nova is outside of our fandom, so it would make sense that they introduce him in another film first and then give him his own solo film. But with the introduction of Nova to the MCU comes his backstory. And what is his backstory? Well, we already know it. It's exactly the scene that I mentioned was supposed to happen in Avengers Infinity War. Now, we know from Thor that Thanos decimated Xandar, and then we learn from the writers that only one person in the Nova Corps survived, Richard Rider. So, what happened to him? Well, that's where he comes into the MCU. As you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially Star-Lord, have a very deep connection to Xandar. And if you notice in Avengers Infinity War where Thor tells the Guardians that Xandar was decimated, you can see how troubled Star-Lord's face looks. So in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you can definitely expect that they'll make a stop by Xandar just to see the destruction. And if this does happen and they decide to introduce Nova in Guardians 3, this is definitely where they will find Nova. And when they introduce Nova to the MCU, they're going to have to go over his backstory and how he became Nova. Specifically, how Richard Rider became Nova. Now, in the comics, Richard Rider is a teenager who lives on Earth. He is selected by the last remaining member of the Nova Corps, Raman Day, to receive the Nova Force. Now, this is how it happens in the comics, but it's not going to go down this way in the MCU, because the writers of Infinity War and Endgame already have revealed how it goes down. Richard Rider is of Xandar, and he is the last remaining member of the Nova Corps. This means that he has all of the Nova Force bestowed upon him, and this means that he fought Thanos. And as he goes over his backstory and how Xandar got destroyed, we could see this scene play out, which means we could see Thanos on the big screen once again. Thanos is such a huge villain, and although it took years to build him up, many fans are disappointed that he is already gone. And although there are many different ways that Thanos could be revived and returned to the MCU, we will most likely see him return to the big screen when Nova is introduced into the MCU. We could finally get this scene, the destruction of Xandar, Richard Rider becoming Nova, inheriting all of the Nova Force, and him going up against and trying to stop Thanos, the Mad Titan, from getting the Power Stone. Ultimately, we know he fails because Thanos does in fact retrieve the Power Stone, but this is most likely where Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will pick up. There is no guarantee that it will be Guardians 3, but it will be a cosmic movie, so that only leaves a few options. Guardians 3, which already has a connection to Nova, and Captain Marvel 2. But if it is Guardians 3, that means we could see Nova in the MCU as early on as 2022. So, exciting news, Nova is coming, and with his introduction, we could possibly see that destruction of Xandar scene finally. So it's probably not the last time you've seen Thanos on the big screen. So what are your thoughts on this? Would you like to see this destruction of Xandar scene? And what movie do you think that Nova will be introduced in? Drop your answer in the comments down below. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and of course don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on all things relating to the MCU, and so you can enter my giveaway for your chance to win an Xbox One or a PS4. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I do giveaways on there as well, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.